She broke the law of the Starson, the cold planet of Zaire. The sky was always dark. Giant stars glowed in the distance, but no sunlight ever touched the ground. This was a place where emotions were dangerous, and love was a crime. Saren stood in the middle of the grand courtroom. Her silver skin shimmered under the pale lights. Hundreds of alien eyes watched her. Some were full of hate, some were just curious, but none had mercy. A deep voice echoed across the hall. Saren of House Velex, you are accused of the highest crime, loving a human. How do you plead? She looked up. Her eyes were calm, but her hands trembled. I do not deny it, she said softly. I loved him. A loud gasp moved through the crowd. Some stood up in shock. Others turned their heads away. Love between Zayari and humans was forbidden, not just by law, but by tradition. It was seen as weakness. It was seen as betrayal. The high judge leaned forward. His face was old, made of stone and shadows. Do you understand what this means? He asked. Saren nodded. Death. Far above, in the dark corner of the hall, someone watched silently. A human man dressed in a stolen Zayari cloak. His name was Eli. His face was hidden, but his eyes were locked on Saren. He had traveled across 5 galaxies to reach her. And now, he watched as she was sentenced. The judge spoke again. You were a respected scientist. You served your people with honor. But you broke the most sacred law. Your punishment will be carried out at sunrise. There was no sunrise on Zaire. The term meant something else. The rising of the high-energy beam that was used for executions. It was silent, painless, and final. Guards grabbed Saren by the arms and led her away. She didn't struggle. She didn't cry. She walked like someone who had already accepted her fate. As the hall emptied, Eli turned and slipped into the shadows. 3 years ago, Saren and Eli met on a joint science mission near the rings of planet Veldor. She was the Zayari lead engineer. He was the human tech expert. At first, they were just co-workers. Then, they became friends. Then, something more. It started with small talks, jokes about how humans liked hot drinks and Zayari preferred cold crystals. Then, long walks during the night shift. Finally, one night, they stood under the Veldor rings and she held his hand. This is wrong, she whispered. Then let's make it right, he replied. But love was not allowed. One of her own kind reported them. The Zayari leaders moved fast. Eli escaped back to human space. Saren was taken. In her prison cell, Saren sat on a cold bench. The walls were smooth and quiet. No sound came in. No sound went out. She closed her eyes and remembered Eli's voice, the way he called her Star Girl, the way he looked at her like she was something precious. It made her chest hurt. A soft noise came from the wall. Saren. Her eyes opened wide. She knew that voice. Eli? She whispered. I'm close. Don't give up. Not yet. How? She asked. I found a way, he said. Trust me. Before she could say more, the wall turned silent again. In the Zayari command room, High Judge Varn spoke with his advisors. We must make an example, he said. If she lives, others will think love is stronger than duty. One advisor nodded. But what if the human comes back? Varn smiled coldly. Then he will die too. In the lower tunnels of the city, Eli worked quickly. He had stolen Zayari tech from black markets and old war zones. He built something no human had ever tested, a small, unstable teleporter. It could move one person for a short distance, just far enough to escape. He set the device, watching the blinking lights. You have 12 hours, he whispered to himself. That's all we've got. At dawn, Saren stood in front of the execution beam. The ground below her was dark glass. Above her, the beam hummed softly. Do you have final words? The judge asked. Saren looked up at the stars. You can punish me, she said, but you cannot kill love. Just as the beam began to glow, A sharp pulse of blue light flashed around her body, and then she was gone. The crowd screamed, alarms blared, guards ran in all directions. "She's escaped," someone yelled. The judge's face turned to stone. "Find the human." Deep underground, Saren opened her eyes. She was alive. Barely. Eli knelt beside her. "Told you," he smiled. "I always keep my promises." But above them, the whole planet was searching. And the war for their love had just begun. He watched her die. Or did he? The sky over the Zayari capital remained silent, black and full of stars. The execution chamber stood tall like a temple, its energy beams humming softly. Guards stood at every door, their weapons ready, their expressions cold. Inside the glass-walled chamber, hundreds of Zayari nobles and officials gathered. Execution was not just punishment here, it was a show of power. And today's show was different. Today they were killing love. Saren stood in the center of the room, her wrists bound with glowing cuffs. Her silver skin now looked pale, her lips dry. But her eyes were calm. Calm in a way that made the crowd uncomfortable. She wasn't afraid. And that made them angry. The High Judge stepped forward. "Saren of House Velix, last daughter of the old bloodline, traitor of your kind, for loving a human, for choosing feelings over your race, you are sentenced to be dissolved in the light." Final words? Saren looked directly at him. Her voice didn't shake. "I was told that love is weakness, but I felt stronger than ever when I was with him. So if this is my end, I accept it." The judge raised his hand. The energy beam powered up with a low growl. Far above, in the shadows of the ceiling, Eli watched. He stood on a narrow ledge, hidden behind a black projection screen. He had no weapons, no backup, just a stolen Zayari device in his hand. A teleportation trigger, unstable and risky. It had never been tested on a living body, but this was all he had. His heart pounded as the chamber lights grew brighter. He whispered to himself, "Now, come on. Work." He pressed the trigger. Nothing happened. For 2 long seconds, silence. Then, a high-pitched sound, like a scream made of static. Saren's body shimmered. The beam struck, but hit empty air. Burst of blue light exploded in the chamber. People screamed, covered their faces. When the light faded, she was gone. The judge shouted, "Seal the exits. Find her. Find him." But Eli was already gone too. Deep in the underground tunnels, the teleportation pod cracked open. Sparks flew from the sides. Smoke filled the room. Saren fell out, unconscious. Eli caught her in his arms, coughing from the smoke. "You're okay. You're okay," he kept repeating, even though she couldn't hear him. He pressed his ear to her chest. A heartbeat. Weak, but there. He smiled through tears. "You stubborn star girl. You made it." An hour later, she woke up. The bunker was small, an old war shelter hidden below the surface. Rusted, cold, forgotten. Eli had set up basic power, light, and medi, tools stolen from scrapyards. Saren opened her eyes slowly. Her body ached. Her mind felt slow. "Eli," she whispered. "You're safe," he said, kneeling beside her. "You're not dead. You stopped it?" "Barely. I had 1 shot. The tech almost failed. If I was a second late..." She touched his hand. "But you weren't." Outside they heard distant alarms. "They know," she said. "They'll come." "Let them," Eli said, standing. "We're not done yet." Meanwhile, the Zayari command center was chaos. "How did she disappear?" one officer yelled. "It was human tech. Teleportation. He took her," another answered. Then, "Find him," shouted the judge. "Search every tunnel, every ruined city, every scrap of this planet." "Sir," said a young voice, "if they reach the forbidden zone, we won't be able to follow." The judge paused. His face went pale. Then make sure they don't reach it. Eli packed supplies quickly. We can't stay here too exposed. I know a place they won't follow us. Saren sat up. Where? The Forbidden Zone. Dead city of Diraxis. They think it's cursed. It is cursed, she said. Everyone who goes there disappears. Then it's perfect, Eli replied. Because if we stay here, we're dead anyway. They left in silence, walking through dark tunnels, crossing ancient roads buried beneath the city. Every step forward took them closer to danger, and to something more than survival. But they weren't alone. From high above, in orbit, a dark ship floated. Inside, a Ziyari bounty hunter received a message. Target, Saren. Status escaped. Human assistance confirmed. Track and eliminate. The bounty hunter smiled. Her eyes glowed red. Let the hunt begin. As Eli and Saren reached the broken gates of the Forbidden Zone, the wind blew harder. The air was thick, with dust and old energy. Ruins of tall towers stood like bones in the dark. Saren looked up. This place. I feel something here. What? Eli asked. Memories, she said. Things my people tried to erase. He nodded. Then maybe we'll find more than safety here. But behind them, something moved in the shadows. They were being followed, and this time, escape might not be enough. They hunted the human who stole a star. The skies above Zaire were darker than usual. Huge black ships hovered in silence, like silent predators waiting for the right moment. Searchlights cut across the land, scanning every crack in the ground, every cave, every ruin. They were not looking for an army. They were looking for one man, a human, and the woman he had stolen, a Ziyari. But to them, she was not just a woman. She was a symbol, a weapon, a threat to the entire order. The High Judge's voice echoed in the council chambers. Saren must be returned, dead or alive. If others see that she escaped, they will question everything. Love is a fire, and fire spreads. An officer stepped forward. Our scans show they are heading into the Forbidden Zone. The judge's face hardened. Then burn the Forbidden Zone if you have to. No one escapes Zaire justice. Far below in the dead zone of Diraxis, Saren and Eli moved like ghosts through the ruins. The city was silent, buried in time and memory. Broken towers reached into the dark sky. Roads cracked open like scars. Strange whispers echoed between buildings, echoes of the past or something worse. Saren touched a stone wall. Alien letters glowed faintly under her fingers. This city. It was once the heart of my people, she said, before it was destroyed and hidden. By who? Eli asked. She looked at him. By the same people who want me dead. They took shelter in a half-buried temple. Eli set up a small camp, food packs, heat lights, a damaged med kit. They had no weapons left, no shields, no ships. We need help, he said. We can't. Keep running. Saren stared at the old walls of the temple. Carvings covered every inch. Figures with both human and Ziyari features stood side by side. We're not the first, she whispered. What? Others. Long ago. They loved too. They built this place together. Ziyari and humans. They lived here before the laws changed, before love became a crime. Eli walked over. Then why did they hide it? Because love gives people power, she said, and power scares rulers. Above them, the bounty hunter landed. Her name was Tyrix. She was not fully Ziyari anymore. Her body had been changed, half machine, half living weapon. Red lights pulsed from her arms. Her eyes scanned heat, sound, life. She followed no orders except one. Destroy the traitor. Bring back the human's head. Target is near, she whispered, voice like ice. Engaging now. That night the ruins shook. A blast of red light tore through the temple wall. Stones exploded. Dust filled the air. Eli grabbed Saren's hand. Run! They ran through the maze of ruined streets, ducking behind broken statues and shattered towers. Tyrix followed. Not fast, not loud, but steady, like death walking. She raised her hand. A drone launched into the air, scanning heat signatures. Eli and Saren hid under a collapsed dome. "She's not like the others," Saren whispered. "She's built to kill. Then we stay low, quiet." But the drone found them. An alarm screamed. "Move!" Eli yelled. They sprinted through the ruins. Saren stumbled, but Eli caught her. Laser beams tore past them, burning the ground. They reached an old tunnel. Inside, darkness swallowed them. Tyrix didn't follow. She stood at the entrance. "Run, little thieves," she said. "I enjoy the chase." Deep in the tunnel, Eli turned on a dim light. The walls here were different. Smoother, polished, alive. Saren stopped walking. This wasn't made by Zayari. Not alone. She touched the wall. A pulse of light moved under her hand. Symbols lit up around them. A door opened at the end of the tunnel. Eli stared in shock. "How did you—" "I don't know," she said, "but it responded to me." They stepped through the door. Inside was a room glowing with blue light. In the center, a sphere floated, humming softly. "What is that?" Eli asked. Saren walked slowly toward it. "It's a memory core. Very old." She placed her hand on it. Images exploded in the air. Sayari and humans working together. Loving. Building. Then war. Then betrayal. Laws were passed. Love was banned. The records were erased. "They erased our history," Saren said, voice shaking. "They told us humans were enemies, but we were family once." A final image appeared, a Zayari woman holding a baby with human eyes. Saren fell to her knees. "They killed them all." Above ground, Tyrix reported back to the High Judge. "They entered the ancient sector. Do I continue?" The judge hesitated. "No, not yet." "Why?" He looked at a secret file. A file with the face of the Zayari woman from the last vision. He closed the screen. "Because if she learns the full truth, we may all burn." In the chamber of light, Saren stood tall. "We need to tell the galaxy," she said. Eli nodded. "But how?" A new voice echoed in the room. "I can help." They turned. An old man stepped from the shadows, human, with Zayari markings on his skin. "I've been waiting for someone like you," he said. "Because love didn't die. It just went into hiding. And now, it's time to fight back." The secrets of the Forbidden Zone. The air inside the ancient chamber was thick, not with dust but with memory. Blue light flickered from the walls, glowing softly like a heartbeat. Strange machines hummed quietly, alive after centuries of silence. Every corner of the room whispered secrets long buried, long feared. Saren stood still, staring at the floating memory core. Images had stopped, but something had changed inside. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like an alien. She felt like the truth. Eli watched her carefully. "You okay?" he asked softly. "No," she replied. "But I will be." She turned toward the man who had just appeared. The stranger who stepped from the shadows. He looked old. His skin was worn, marked with time and stories, but his eyes were sharp. Alive. "Who are you?" Eli asked. The man gave a small smile. "Name's Oren. I was born human. Raised Zayari, a child of both worlds." Saren stepped forward. "You knew about this place?" "I was born here," Oren said. "Before the purge, before they came to erase everything." Oren led them deeper into the ruins. They passed through stone tunnels that turned into metal halls. Carvings gave way to screens, then wires, then something stranger. Walls that responded to touch, to thought. Eli ran his hand over one wall. It pulsed softly like it recognized him. "This place? It's alive," he whispered. Oren nodded. "This was the last city built by both our kinds. Before the Great Betrayal. Before the Zayari Council decided that love between species was a threat." "Why would they fear it?" Saren asked. Oren looked at her. "Because it created people like you." In a large central chamber, they found something unexpected. Rows of pods, each one sealed, each one glowing faintly. Inside them, sleeping figures, not fully human, not fully Ziari. Hybrids, Oren said. They hid them when the war began. Their parents were hunted, many died, but a few survived, frozen here. Saren stepped closer to one pod. A young girl slept inside. Her skin shimmered like Saren's. Her hair was like Eli's. How many? Saren asked. 37, Oren replied. Waiting, dreaming, protected by this place, but outside danger was coming. Tyrek stood at the edge of the forbidden zone watching. She didn't enter. Not yet. Instead, she placed a small black device on the ground. It blinked twice, then sent a signal. Far above in orbit, the Zayari command received it. They've entered the heart of Diraxis, an officer said. The High Judge's face twisted. Then it's time to end it. With what? The judge gave one command. Release Project Ashfall. In the ruins below, a low rumble echoed. Saren looked up. What was that? Oren's face went pale. They activated the weapon. What? Weapon? Eli asked. Ashfall was a final measure. Something built long ago. It will burn this entire zone, all life inside it, even the hybrids. We have to stop it, Saren shouted. Oren pointed to the far wall. Then come with me. There's a control core, but it's protected. By what? Eli asked. Oren didn't answer. They ran through twisting corridors. The hum of machines grew louder. Then suddenly, silence. They entered a vast chamber. Smooth metal, glowing red symbols. At the center, a floating orb of black light. That's the core, Oren said. But it's guarded by something old. Something not alive, but not dead either. From the shadows, a sound, like clicking metal. Then movement. A guardian. Not a robot, not a person, something in between. Its body was sharp and fast, made of black steel and bone. Its eyes glowed like fire. Run, Oren whispered, but Saren stepped forward. No, she said. Let me try. The guardian moved toward her. Fast Eli raised a piece of broken pipe, useless but ready to fight. Saren raised her hand. I'm not your enemy. The guardian paused. It scanned her. Then slowly it lowered its arms. A light passed between them. Silent, powerful. The orb in the center of the room dimmed. Then the warning stopped. Ashfall was deactivated. Oren stared, in shock. You command the systems, he said. I didn't do anything, Saren replied. No, you're the key, he said. The last descendant of the ancient bond. You're not just part of history. You are history. They returned to the hybrid chamber. Eli touched the pod of the sleeping girl again. We need to wake them, he said. Not yet, Oren replied. The galaxy isn't ready. If the council finds them... Saren looked at the pods. Then, we make the galaxy ready. How? Eli asked. She turned to him, fire in her eyes. By telling the truth. On the surface, Tyrix received new orders. Stand down, the message said. But she ignored it. Instead, she prepared her ship. They want to protect the lie, she said. Fine, but I want the truth too. In the depths of Diraxis, Saren stood before the memory core again. This time she placed both hands on it. A map of the stars appeared in the air, and a message. If you see this, then the bond has been restored. Tell the story. Let love rise again. Eli looked at her. What now? She smiled. Now we don't run anymore. The truth they buried a long time ago, love changed the universe, and the leaders of Zaire buried it. They erased names. They burned history. They turned memories into myths. They banned emotions, punished families, and silenced anyone who dared to feel. But now, the truth had returned, and it was alive. Saren stood in front of the memory core. Behind her, the map of the galaxy still floated in the air. Each star blinked softly. A system, a story, a secret waiting to be revealed. She touched a symbol at the edge of the map. It zoomed in, showing a planet named Velthora, once the home of the ancient Unity, where Zayari and humans first lived together. This world, it was the center, she said. Eli stepped beside her. I've never even heard of it. You weren't supposed to, Oren replied from the shadows. They erased it from every record. They called it a failed colony. But it wasn't. It was the beginning. In a hidden chamber deeper inside Daraxis, the truth waited. Saren, Eli, and Oren walked slowly into the room. The air smelled like dust and old electricity. Machines lined the walls, ancient data units, long deactivated. Oren placed his hand on a black panel. The room lit up, screens flickered. A hologram appeared, an old Zayari council meeting, recorded in secret. The voices were cold, cruel. The hybrids are too powerful. Their minds evolve faster than both our races. If they continue, our control will collapse. Then we ban the bond, erase all proof, rewrite the law, and any Zayari who breaks it will die. Eli stepped back. They knew. Saren's voice was hollow. They weren't afraid of love, they were afraid of losing power. Oren nodded. Love made people stronger. Love between species created children with gifts, mental connection, emotional depth, even energy control. The council saw them not as future leaders, but as threats. In orbit, the High Judge stared at a dark screen. He had received the IR signal. They've activated the Daraxis archive, an officer said. The judge's face twisted with fear. If they broadcast that recording, the whole galaxy will know, the officer whispered. Prepare the purge fleet, the judge ordered. Burn Daraxis to the core. We'll rewrite history again, with fire. But down below, Saren had other plans. We need to send this to the outer colonies, she said. Let humans and Zayari both hear the truth. Oren hesitated. If you do this, you'll start a war. Saren looked at Eli. Maybe. Or maybe we'll end one. Eli walked over to a panel and connected a power cable. We have an old human. Comlink, he said. I can boost it. Send the signal across 6 systems. Saren nodded. Do it. The countdown began. Transmission. Preparing. Upload. 50%. Outside. Engines roared. Ships appeared in the black sky. The Zayari purge fleet. They're early, Oren shouted. Eli's fingers flew across the controls. We need more time. Missiles fired. The ground shook. A tower near the archive collapsed. Debris fell. Dust filled the air. Saren coughed, shielding the memory core. Don't stop the upload, she yelled. Upload 72%, the computer announced. Oren ran to the outer gate and activated the city's ancient defenses. Metal walls rose. Blue shields formed over key systems, but the fleet kept firing. They'll break through, Eli said. They have more power. Not more truth, Saren replied. A new voice crackled through the speakers. This is Captain Lara of the Free, Human Fleet. We received your message. Ships appeared from hyperspace. Human rebel vessels, old and damaged, but armed. They opened fire on the Zayari fleet. The sky lit up with war. Inside the archive, the upload reached 95%. Tyrix crashed. Through the door, burned, bleeding, furious. You lied to us, she hissed. All these years, we hunted love, and we were the monsters. Saren looked at her calmly. You don't have to be anymore. Tyrix raised her weapon, then dropped it. I'll hold the gate, she said. Finish. 100%. Upload complete. The signal burst into the stars. Every outer colony, every pirate ship, every trading hub. The truth played on every screen. The hybrids are too powerful. Ban the bond. Erase the proof. People watched in silence. Some cried, some screamed. But one thing was clear. The lie was dead. The Zayari fleet stopped firing. Officers turned to each other, confused. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Even in the command ship, silence ruled. What now? One whispered. The High Judge stood alone, no orders left to give. Back in Daraxis, the battle ended. The rebels landed. The hybrids still slept in their pods. But now they were safe. Eli sat beside one, his hands shaking. "We did it," he said. Saren knelt beside him. "No, we started," and he looked at her. "You mean the war?" She shook her head. "The future." A war for one woman, war doesn't always start with weapons. Sometimes it begins with a single truth that can no longer be buried. And sometimes it begins with love. The galaxy was changing. Screens across star systems flashed the forbidden footage, the hidden Zayari Council recordings, the laws against hybrid children, the punishment of love. The response came like fire. On human colonies, protests turned into resistance. In neutral zones, Zayari soldiers refused to follow orders. Even inside the Empire, whispers of rebellion echoed through halls that once ruled without question. But the Council didn't retreat. They prepared for war. And their main target was Saren. In a secret base orbiting the dark moon of Relis, a small rebel alliance gathered. Saren stood at the center of the command deck, surrounded by humans, rogue Zayari, and even a few exiles who had lived in hiding for years. Eli stood beside her, tired but steady. "We can't just defend ourselves anymore," Saren said. "They won't stop. They want to erase everything, the memory core, the hybrids, us." "Then we take the fight to them," said Captain Lara. "Strike the capital. Make them answer." A Zayari rebel commander shook his head. "That place is locked down. Full force shields. 10,000 soldiers." "I know a way in," came a voice from the back. Everyone turned. Tyrek stepped forward, her wounds now wrapped, her eyes sharp. "I was a hunter once," she said. "I know their blind spots." The plan was simple and deadly. A small strike team would enter the capital through old service tunnels, left behind during the first Zayari Wars. They would upload the full memory archives into the Empire's core data systems, so no one could ever erase the truth again. But that wasn't all. They would also have to take the High Judge alive. "Without him," Saren said, "the Empire breaks." "And what if you fail?" someone asked. Saren looked them all in the eye. "Then let them remember. We tried." 3 days later, the rebel ship cut through the stars in silence. Disguised as a cargo vessel, it passed the outer ring without a challenge. In the darkness of the lower decks, Eli checked the equipment. He looked at Saren. "Are you sure about this?" She nodded. "I'm done hiding." "You know," he said softly, "you're not fighting this war for me." "No," she said. "I'm fighting it because of what you made me believe, that love is worth everything." They held each other for one quiet second. Then the door opened. "Time to go," Tyrek said. Beneath the capital, the tunnels were cold and filled with ghosts. Old markings lined the walls, signs from the old Unity era, signs that someone once believed in peace. But peace was far away now. As they moved through the tunnels, alarms suddenly blared. "They know," Eli said. Tyrix growled. "Someone betrayed us." An explosion rocked the ground. Metal doors sealed behind them. Trapped, from the shadows, soldiers appeared. Zayari guards, elite units. A voice echoed through the hall. "Saren, surrender, and the rest may live." The High Judge himself had come. His ship hovered above the Capitol Tower, broadcasting his command. "You are not a leader. You are a mistake." Saren stepped forward. "Then why are you afraid of me?" A fierce battle broke out. Lasers, explosions, screaming metal. Eli fought with a stolen pulse rifle, covering Saren as she moved to the main terminal. Tyrix charged at the guards like a storm, her blade flashing like lightning. Oren, badly wounded in the first wave, passed a small data chip. To Saren. "Take it," he whispered. "This has the key. The final archive." "What's on it?" she asked. He smiled. "The truth about you." Then he collapsed. Saren reached the control core, blood on her hands, smoke in her lungs. Guards closed in, but she was already there. She plugged in the chip. Screens lit up. Across the city, across the empire, across the stars. Saren's voice echoed across the galaxy. They told you love was a weakness. They were wrong. Love is the reason we are still here. It connects species, families, galaxies. They feared it because they could not control it. In every city, Zayari citizens stopped. They watched, they listened, and something broke, the silence of fear. In the Capitol Tower, the High Judge shouted, "Cut the signal." But even his own officers hesitated. "Sir," one said, "we have family, who are hybrids." "You are all traitors," the judge roared. And then he was alone. In the tunnels, the fighting stopped. The guards lowered their weapons. And in that silence, for the first time in 100 years, no one was afraid. Saren stood outside as the sun rose over the Capitol. Not a real sun, but a simulated one, the Empire's way of copying life from other worlds. Still, it was warm. Eli stood beside her. "You did it," he said. "No," she replied. "We all did. And it's just the beginning." Behind them, the rebel flag was raised, not a symbol of war, but of healing. In a dark cell far away, the High Judge sat in silence, his power gone, his voice no longer feared. A young guard approached, half Zayari, half human. He looked at the old man, then smiled slightly. "We're the future," the guard said, and walked away. She was love. She was war. The stars had changed. Where once they watched in silence, now they echoed with the truth. The truth she gave them. On the edge of the galaxy, in the open light of a new dawn, the symbol of rebellion no longer flew as a warning. It flew as a promise, and at the heart of it all stood one woman, Saren, the last daughter of a broken law and the first leader of a united hope. They tried to kill her for loving a human. They tried to erase her name from history. Instead, she became history. Saren stood before the Grand Council, now rebuilt with both human and Zayari seats for the first time in 100 years. The hall was silent, but not with fear. It waited for her voice. She looked at Eli across the chamber, his hand on his heart. His eyes locked on hers, and she spoke. "This is not a victory speech, this is a beginning. For too long we were told that love was dangerous. But it was fear that almost destroyed us. We punished connection. We buried the truth. But even in silence, love survived." Applause did not come quickly, but when it did, it grew like thunder, not because of politics, but because something deeper had shifted. The galaxy didn't just hear her voice. It felt it. Far beneath the Capitol, the hybrid children awoke. 37 pods opened in soft light. Eyes blinked. Hearts began to beat faster. Their bodies, part human, part Zayari, carried the memory of both worlds. Saren knelt before one of the girls. The child tilted her head. "Are you like me?" Saren smiled. "No, you're like me." Across planets and moons, walls came down. Old laws were torn apart. Mixed families stepped into the light again. And what was once called forbidden now became sacred. But peace does not grow without protection. And Saren knew the war was not truly over. In deep space, remnants of the old empire still whispered. A small faction refused to surrender. They called themselves the purists, fanatics, who believed in blood, in control, in fear. And they had one goal: bring her down. One night, as the stars fell quiet, a single missile cut through the void. A targeted strike meant to kill Saren as she slept. But she was not sleeping, and she was not alone. Tyrix intercepted the missile in a stolen Imperial ship, sacrificing herself to save the new capital. Her last message was brief. "Tell her, I believed in her." At her memorial, Saren lit the flame herself. She did not cry. She stood still, a silent wall of strength. But inside her, something burned. Not just sorrow, but purpose. Time passed. The new government took shape. Science and stories from the forgotten era were restored. Mixed colonies grew fast. Hybrids, humans, and Zayari together. Some called it the Second Unity. Others called it the rise of the bond. But Eli? He just called it home. 1 year later, on the same day she had once been sentenced to die, Saren stood at the top of the Zayari high spire, not in chains, but in command. She wore no crown, only a single crystal pendant, one Eli had given her long ago the day he called her his star girl. Below, millions waited. On screen, across galaxies, billions watched, and she said only this: "They thought I would die for loving a human, but I lived. And in that love, I found not weakness, but a war worth winning." Eli met her backstage. No guards, no audience, just two souls who had survived everything. "You were amazing," he said. "So were you." "What happens now?" he asked. She looked up at the stars. "Now we build something so strong," she said, "that no one ever has to choose between who they love and who they are." He nodded. "And us?" She smiled. "We already chose each other." In the quiet that followed, in the peace that was no longer borrowed but earned, the galaxy changed one more time, not because of warships, not because of blood, but because one woman dared to love and refused to let that love die. She was love. She was war, and she was just the beginning.